Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah, welcome back.
This time we're taking a look at a guy whose name seems to be everywhere you turn these days.
Definitely, yeah.
Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm.
And to help us try to unpack this larger-than-life figure, we've got some excerpts from Ashlee Vance's biography.
Right. Elon Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, and the quest for a fantastic future.
That's the one.
That's a mouthful.
It is. It is.
It's a good one.
And, it's interesting because we're not just talking about a standard, Fortune 500 CEO here.
Yeah, this guy's ambitions are on a whole other level, right?
Yeah, we're talking about colonizing Mars, revolutionizing transportation, and even grappling with, the really big questions about artificial intelligence.
He really does want to tackle it all, doesn't he?
He does.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, and that's what we're here to kind of dig into.
Yeah.
To really try to understand Elon Musk, I think you've got to go back to his roots, start at the beginning.
Makes sense.
So picture South Africa, right? Not exactly the easiest place to grow up, especially if you're not quite fitting the mold,
And that's the thing. He wasn't. Imagine being this nerdy, introverted kid in the middle of this super macho, hyper-masculine culture.
Right. Almost like his instinct to go against the grain starts there.
It has to, right? You kind of have to push back against that to become who he is.
Absolutely. And you can't ignore the adventure that seems to run in his family.
What do you mean?
Well, you've got his grandfather who's flying the whole family across North America in a private plane.
Wow.
Then his parents just decide to uproot and move to South Africa on a whim, pretty much.
That's bold.
It is. Almost like this guy's wired for something more, something bigger.
There's a restlessness there, right? A need to push boundaries.
Totally, and it pops up super early.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Even in high school. He's already arguing against fossil fuels, championing solar energy.
Wow. So that's where the seeds of Tesla are planted, huh?
It really does seem that way.
That's amazing.
And there's this awesome story about him bringing model rockets to school, launching them during breaks.
Classic Musk. Just not afraid to be different, to experiment, even if it means standing out.
Right. Totally.
I think that willingness to explore the unconventional, it's a big part of who he is.
I agree, but we also can't ignore the personal stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, his parents divorced when he was young, and even to this day, he has this pretty strained relationship with his father.
Yeah, it makes you think about how those early experiences, they really shape us.
Don't they?
Maybe all that drive and ambition, that relentless focus, it comes from having to overcome those early challenges.
I know, it's like he always had something to prove.
Maybe.
And it seems like he developed this, coping mechanism, learning to shut out the world and just zero in on whatever grabbed his attention.
Interesting.
There's even this thing about him being able to visualize things in his mind super clearly, almost like he's looking at blueprints or something.
Huh. Is that, pure talent? Or is it something he developed as a way to deal with everything going on around him?
It's a good question, right?
Yeah.
But either way, it's helped him tremendously.
No doubt.
So high school's over, and he sets his sights on Canada.
Okay.
Spends a whole year just doing odd jobs, anything to get by.
Really? Like what?
Shoveling grain, cutting logs.
Wow, far from the tech world, he ends up dominating, huh?
Right. It's crazy.
But it's right there you see his resourcefulness.
Totally.
He didn't wait around for opportunities, he made them happen.
That kind of self-reliance, that willingness to get his hands dirty.
It's a big part of his story.
For sure.
He wasn't afraid of hard work, that's for sure.
No, clearly not.
And eventually, he ends up at the University of Pennsylvania, and that's where things start to click.
Really? How so?
He writes this paper called The Importance of Being Solar.
Okay.
Basically predicting the rise of, solar power.
Interesting.
He even pictures these massive solar arrays in space beaming energy back to Earth. That's pretty visionary, even back then.
Right. He was already thinking big, tackling, global problems with these innovative solutions.
And that space-based solar energy idea, that ties directly to Solar City later on, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It's like he's connecting those dots early on.
That's amazing.
And then comes Zip2, his first company.
Ah, yes, Zip2.
He and his brother Kimball, they literally drive across the country to launch it, just scraping by.
Yeah, like a true startup story, right?
Absolutely. No safety net, just pure determination.
It's inspiring, even if it sounds a little crazy.
Oh, it was a bit crazy.
I bet.
They were living in their office, showering at the YMCA.
Wow, talk about dedication.
Right. And here's where things get even more interesting.
Okay, go on.
So he's running Zip2, and his management style is already, becoming legendary.
We've all heard the stories, right? Demanding work hours.
Yeah. But it's not just that.
What else?
He's also throwing these massive parties for his employees.
Really?
It's almost like this intense, almost cult-like work environment.
I can see that.
He expected a lot from everyone around him,
For sure.
but he was also pushing himself to the absolute limit.
Inspiring for some, probably terrifying for others.
Definitely a mixed bag.
Yeah, gotta be.
But he got results.
He did.
And they end up selling Zip2 for a very nice sum of money.
Nice.
And I think he learned a crucial lesson from that whole experience.
What's that?
Control.
Control.
He realized that to really make his vision happen, he needed to be in control of his companies.
Makes sense.
Not just an investor, but a builder.
Right. Calling the shots.
Exactly. And that sets the stage for everything that comes next. PayPal, SpaceX, and Tesla.
And that's a whole other story.
It is.
We'll get to that in a bit.
He wasn't afraid to fail, but he learned from those failures.
Yeah, he definitely seemed to use those experiences to refine his approach.
Exactly. So Zip2 is done. Big success.
What's next? What does Elon Musk do next?
Well, you jumps into online financial services. Starts this company called X.com.
X.com, right? I've heard of that.
And it eventually merges with another company. And bam, you've got PayPal.
Oh, yeah, PayPal. That's a big one.
Huge, right.
So is this where things start going really smoothly for him?
Not exactly.
What happened?
I mean, this is where his vision kind of bumps up against, the realities of Silicon Valley, the tech world.
What do you mean?
He's got strong ideas about the tech they should be using.
Yeah.
But it clashes with the other teams, like preference for open source.
So it's like this old guard versus new disruptors kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it gets pretty messy.
Messy how?
So picture this. Musk is off on his honeymoon, right?
Okay, honeymoon, he deserves a break.
You'd think so. But while he's gone, there's a boardroom coup.
No way!
Yeah, they basically kick him out of the company he helped create.
Ouch, that's gotta hurt.
Big time. And it's a good reminder that even brilliant, driven people, they can get caught in these power struggles.
Totally, it's like high school all over again, but with millions of dollars at stake.
Right. It shows how important it is to have a team that's totally aligned with your vision.
Absolutely. You need people who are on the same page, rowing in the same direction.
But this is Elon Musk we're talking about.
Right, so he doesn't just sit around and mope, does he?
Not at all. He jumps headfirst into his next venture, SpaceX.
SpaceX! That's a big leap from online payments.
It is, and his goal is even bigger, colonizing Mars.
Wow, so now he's not just disrupting industries. He's aiming to rewrite humanity's future.
Pretty much. And to do that, he's got to figure out this whole space travel thing, which isn't exactly easy.
No kidding. How does he even start?
So get this. He basically learns rocket science by devouring textbooks and just grilling rocket engineers with questions.
Seriously, that's how he does it.
Seems like it. It's like he downloaded an aerospace degree straight into his brain.
It's incredible, his ability to learn, his curiosity. It's endless.
And he's not afraid to surround himself with the best, learn from experts.
He seems to be a master at, taking complex information and distilling it into a plan of action.
Absolutely.
But all those smarts and all that drive, it doesn't make things easier.
Not at all. Those early years at SpaceX are rough.
Oh, yeah. In what way?
Multiple launch failures.
Yeah.
Money problems. And don't even get me started on his battles with the FAA over regulations.
Oh, man. So now he's dealing with government bureaucracy on top of everything else.
It's a lot. But this is where that relentless drive, that willingness to challenge authority really comes into play.
It's like he thrives on these obstacles, uses them as fuel.
Totally. He pushes everyone, his team, his suppliers, everyone to the absolute limit.
So is this the malaria story?
You know it. Remember that vacation he took after PayPal?
Oh, yeah, right. The one right after he was ousted.
It's a severe case of malaria. Almost dies.
Seriously? Wow.
That tells you everything you need to know about his work ethic, right?
Yeah, the guy rarely takes a break. Always pushing, pushing, pushing.
And it makes you wonder about the personal toll, the physical and emotional cost of all that ambition.
It's a question worth asking. But at this point, he's got SpaceX reaching for the stars.
But he's not done. He co-founds Tesla Motors.
Tesla, okay, so this is where the electric car revolution really starts.
Yeah, and his vision with Tesla was to make electric cars that were not just practical, but desirable.
That's a key distinction. Not just eco-friendly, but cool.
Exactly. And their first car, the Roadster, it really turns heads.
The Roadster was sleek, it was fast, it was like nothing anyone had ever seen in an electric car before.
It challenged all those preconceived notions about what an electric car could be.
So is this where everything finally falls into place?
Not quite. Tesla nearly goes bankrupt in 2008.
Oh no, what happened?
Production delays, money troubles, the whole 9 yards.
You've got to think at that point, most people would just walk away.
Most people would, but not Musk. He doubles down on his investment, even when everyone's telling him to quit.
That's incredible, that belief in his vision, even when things look bleak.
And his attention to detail is insane. He's involved in everything, from the design of the Model S door handles to the sun visors.
Seriously, it's like he's a micromanager on a whole other level.
But it's also what sets him apart, right? He's not just a CEO, he's an engineer, a designer. He's in the trenches with his team.
It's got to be exhausting, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But then he does this thing, and it's maybe his boldest move yet.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What is it?
The supercharger network.
Great, the superchargers. So is this where he decides to make them free for Tesla owners?
Exactly. He builds this massive infrastructure that changes the whole electric car game.
It's brilliant. He takes away one of the biggest concerns people have about electric cars: range anxiety.
And he does it in a way that benefits his customers and strengthens the Tesla brand.
It's a gamble, but it pays off big time.
It's like he's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
And what's the result? He forces other car companies to take electric vehicles seriously.
Totally. He accelerates the shift to sustainable transportation. That's real disruption.
Musk isn't just building companies, he's changing the world.
Okay, so we've got SpaceX reaching for the stars.
Tesla transforming the auto industry.
But let's talk about his leadership style for a second.
Right, that's a whole other conversation.
It's, well, unique, let's say.
Unique how?
He attracts some of the brightest minds, but he's also known for being super demanding.
Work-life balance. Not a concept he's familiar with, I guess.
Yeah, it's more like work-life integration. Everything blends together.
So, is it sustainable?
It's a good question. I mean, he sets these ridiculously high standards, expects everyone to meet them, often pushes people to their breaking point.
It's got to create a lot of pressure, a lot of stress.
And there are tons of stories about him working insane hours, sleeping at the factory, emailing at 3 a.m.
The guy never seems to turn off. Always thinking, always working.
Which can be inspiring, but also exhausting for the people around him, right?
Definitely two sides to that coin. And his personal life.
Not exactly a walk in the park either.
I can imagine.
2 divorces. Raising 5 kids while running multiple companies. It's a lot to juggle.
And it makes you wonder, right? Does this level of ambition, this relentless drive, does it come at a personal cost?
I think that's something we'll be unpacking for a while. But there's also this undeniable charisma about him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's got this magnetism, this ability to make people believe in his vision.
Even people who've left his companies, they still talk about him with a sense of awe.
It's like he's this force of nature, impossible to ignore.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit.
Okay, I'm ready.
We've talked about his achievements, his drive.
Right.
But what about his legacy? What's the lasting impact of Elon Musk?
The big question.
Huge. And you've got people like Peter Thiel who see him as a true visionary.
Right, someone who's pushing humanity forward.
Exactly. They believe he's reigniting this sense of possibility, especially with things like sustainable energy and space exploration.
Big picture stuff.
Big picture. But then you've got critics like Tyler Cowen who see him more as an attention seeker.
Interesting. So they're more skeptical of his motives.
Yeah, and they question if he's really delivering on all his promises.
So is it more hype than substance in their view?
Maybe. Like, Cowen specifically points to things like the Hyperloop.
Okay, yeah, the Hyperloop has been in development for a while.
And he even questions Tesla's reliance on batteries, which still require power generation, which often comes from fossil fuel.
Ah, so it's not as clean as it seems on the surface.
Right. It's like this clash between the visionary and the pragmatist.
And where do you land?
I think it's complicated. There's no easy answer. It's up to each of us to decide where we fall on that spectrum.
I think that's a fair assessment. But no matter where you stand on Elon Musk, one thing's for sure, he's a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. He's shaken up industries, challenged assumptions, sparked countless debates.
And that's a form of impact, isn't it?
It is. Whether you think he's a hero, a villain, or somewhere in between, he's made his mark on the world.
Yeah, no one can deny that.
And his story's far from over. He's a fascinating guy to study, that's for sure.
He really is.
And it makes me think about another, iconic innovator.
Okay, who's that?
Steve Jobs.
Ah, Steve Jobs. Yeah, interesting comparison.
Right. Both led multiple companies that completely changed their industries.
Right, huge impact.
But Musk's way of doing things, it's so much more hands-on, you know?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There's not just the big idea guy.
He's in the details.
He's in the trenches, obsessing over every little thing.
Yeah, I think that's a key difference.
Totally.
Jobs was all about focus, delegating, trusting his team.
Right.
Musk has to be involved in every aspect, it seems.
From engineering decisions to aesthetics.
It's a different style of leadership.
It is, for sure, with its own advantages and disadvantages, of course.
Absolutely.
And unlike Jobs, who was this master presenter, carefully crafting those keynotes.
Yeah, the one more thing kind of guy.
Exactly.
Musk is way more, well, off the cuff.
Totally. Like he'll just drop major news on a Friday afternoon. Yeah, almost like an afterthought.
That's wild.
It's not about the perfect reveal for him.
No, it's about getting back to work, solving the next problem.
Exactly. It's all about the mission.
Which is crazy when you think about what he's trying to accomplish.
Speaking of crazy, there's this insane story from 2008.
Oh, what happened in 2008?
Tesla and SpaceX, they're both on the brink of collapse.
No way, both of them. At the same time.
At the same time.
Wow.
He's going through a divorce and basically staring down financial ruin.
That's a lot to deal with.
It's like everything's falling apart.
And most people would just crumble under that kind of pressure, right?
You'd think so, but he just keeps going.
Seriously.
Somehow, he secures funding, manages to save both companies.
It's unbelievable.
Talk about resilience, about unwavering belief in your vision.
I mean, that's got to be some next level determination.
Right. And get this, in the middle of all this chaos,
Okay.
he starts dating Tallulah Riley, a British actress.
Okay.
They have this whirlwind romance, get married, then divorce.
Okay, that happens.
But then they get married again.
Wait, what? They got married twice.
Twice. It's wild.
It's like a real-life soap opera.
It is.
Yeah.
But it also shows, like, even with all this stress, all these setbacks, he's still trying to find happiness.
Yeah, it just shows how complex he is.
Right. Managing all these different parts of his life at once.
It's mind-boggling, really.
This whole journey, it's a roller coaster, that's for sure.
It is.
But it gives you a glimpse into what drives him, what makes him tick.
Right, this mix of ambition and brilliance and, let's be honest, a little bit of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who's talking about putting humans on Mars.
Which brings us back to the big question, right?
A big question.
Is he this visionary leading us toward a better future?
Or is he, like Icarus, flying too close to the sun?
With these grand ambitions that might just come crashing down.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
It is.
He's definitely not afraid to shake things up, challenge the status quo.
He's built companies that are changing entire industries.
And whether you agree with how he does things or why he does them, his impact is undeniable.
No question about it.
And I think for our listeners, the big takeaway
I'm
is
set.
achieving these big, audacious goals. It's possible.
It is, but it takes something special, right?
It does.
A level of dedication and resilience, maybe even a touch of obsession that most people just don't have.
And Musk, he seems to have all of that in spades.
He really does.
So where do you land on Elon Musk? Is he a hero, a villain, or somewhere in between?
It's a tough question, and I think there's no easy answer.
No, there isn't.
It's up to each of us to decide.
But one thing's clear. His story isn't over yet.
Not even close.
And with his ambition and drive, those long-term effects of his companies, of his vision,
We're going to be dealing with those for years to come.
it's a conversation worth having for sure.
Absolutely.
And hopefully this deep dive has given everyone a lot to think about.
I hope so.
If you want to go even deeper into Elon Musk's incredible, sometimes unbelievable life,
Definitely check out Ashlee Vance's full biography.
it's packed with fascinating details and insights.
It really is a great read.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
I'll catch you on the next one.